we have a very special guest speaker for you today. We're pretty excited. And he is Justin Greenlee. He is there he is. Yay, you can stand right up here if you want. Justin is an intern with us he's going for an MDiv at the Perkins School of Theology at SMU, and he's an intern with us. He's been with us since August, and his day job is IT and programmer. So he has been supporting our communications as well as working with the restart of our young adults program. So we're very excited about these things. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's very, very cool. He's passionate about interfaith dialogue, and he's one of the few people I know that was born and raised and has never left DFW. So that's always a unique and interesting thing. So please welcome Justin.
Cool. Am I on? Can y'all hear me? Am I audible out there? Yes, this is exciting. Technology works. That's always a gift. How are y'all doing this morning? Good. Let's see if I remember my passcode here.
And can I ask you, do you have slides?
I do have slides, okay, yes. Can I have the clicker? Yep, Thank you. Awesome. Sweet. So, as Peter said, this week we'll be wrapping up our series on staying positive, finding faith and hope and trust and gratitude in the modern world, which is pretty hard these days. And not to reiterate too much about what Peter said about me, as far as my credentials go, but I am at Perkins School of Theology. It's over down in SMU, and I'm pursuing a Master's of Divinity. And the thing, I don't know if there's any other people who've done wonderfully genius pursuits like that before, but for those of you who have, you would know that getting a Master's of Divinity has its pros and has its cons. The pro is the fact that if anyone ever asks me what I'm majoring, I can say, yeah, I'm getting a Master's of Divinity. I'm getting a Master's of the Divine. Versus, what did you major in? Math? Oh, yeah, sure. The only bad thing is that because everybody goes to church or goes to some sort of spiritual service on Sunday morning, everyone thinks that they know what you're getting a major in better than you do, which I don't think is quite the same for people who are getting like a physics degree. No one's going to say like, oh yeah, I know quantum mechanics way better than you do. But they might say, yeah, tell me about the Holy Spirit. Tell me about, they know a lot more than I do. That's what they'll say. So to prepare for this week, let's see if my slide thing works. It does. That's exciting. So to prepare for this service this morning, as any graduate level professional, I decided to watch some Disney movies because that's the best source for gratitude. And go back. There we go. In one Disney movie, I actually just saw it this week for the first time. Who's here has seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Hunchback of Notre Dame. Ooh, a lot of people. That's exciting. So then y'all would know that there is this, and my slides are out of order. There it is. Okay. There is this character. Her name is Esmeralda. She is a gypsy or an outcast, and she is this incredible dancer who just makes a mockery of the whole festival. And she goes to the Notre Dame Cathedral where she meets this character, Quasimodo, who is also the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And there's this beautiful scene where Esmeralda slowly moves about the cathedral, and she's singing. And she's praying. Esmeralda does not ask for the fleeting worldly desires that everybody else is asking for. Everyone else is going to their patron saints, their beloved statues, and they're praying for fame, they're praying for wealth, they're praying for love. But Esmeralda says, I ask for nothing. I can get by. There are so many less fortunate than I. And I love this scene because here we have this humble, poor outcast praying for her, not praying for herself, but praying for others. See, she understands gratitude a bit differently than you and I do. Professor Robert Emmons, who is a PhD, he's an incredible author, and he wrote several books on gratitude, including Thanks, How the New Science of Gratitude Can Make You Happier. And he states that grateful living is only possible when we realize that other people and agents do things for us that we cannot do so for ourselves. Gratitude emerges in two stages. The first is affirmation, and the second is recognition. Let's see if we'll go to that slide, that works. Today, we are going to explore how we can cultivate gratitude in our lives, especially in this wonderful pandemic that we're in. We're going to explore how we can find happiness and how we can find fulfillment and a fuller appreciation for people in their lives and appreciate things that we often take for granted, I think. So gratitude is an anchor that helps us to be more present. The first step to cultivating gratitude is a conscious action of becoming aware. So, of course, as I mentioned, I'm getting an MDiv, so I'm going to quote a Methodist scholar, in this case, the founder of Methodism, John Wesley, who talks about on the omnipresence of God. It is one of his sermons, and he says, "What shall we make of this awful consideration if God is omnipresent? Should we not continue to labor to acknowledge God's presence in everything and everyone?" And you can substitute the word God for whatever word meets your spirituality, whatever word is more appropriate for your journey. How can we better recognize the divine in our midst? How can we better see our shared humanity? How can we grow together, grow in awareness of the sacred spaces we dwell in? The reality that the ground that we are walking on is always holy ground. To recognize that we are passing burning bushes on the left and right all the time. And now let's see if I can find that slide. Yes, there it is. As Ernest Holmes says, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Yes, and there's this, so I was just rewatching the Harry Potter series. Who here loves the Harry Potter series? None of you love it as much as I do, but that's cool. I love the scene in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is my favorite of them, biased. When Harry discovers this mirror, it's a mirror of Erised. And according to Albus Dumbledore, when Harry asks about what does it do, he says that it shows the deepest, most desperate desire of our hearts. So to give Harry a bit of a clue, he says, imagine the most happy man in the world. When they go up to this mirror, they see themselves exactly as they are. But when Harry goes up to this mirror, he sees his family. He sees his mom and his dad who passed away. And even in the midst of his loss, he expresses gratitude for who they were and the impact that they have on his life. Gratitude is a thought process that is allowed or denied a place in your life from the moment you wake up. I had a slide for that. Yeah, there it is. So gratitude is a thought process that is allowed or denied a place in your life from the moment you wake up. So I want to conduct a short thought experiment if y'all are up for it. So I invite you to take a moment and just be still. Close your eyes. Take a moment and just breathe in. Breathe in, breathe out. Sit up fully and breathe. And while you're in this position, think about how you wake up on a typical work week morning. So say Monday, as an example. When you woke up, what thoughts and feelings are going through your head? How many times do you hit the snooze button before finally getting out of bed? Are you on your phone? Did you take the blanket? Do you browse Facebook, troll Reddit, or immerse yourself in the TikTok videos, as I do on every morning on a regular basis? Did you take a cold shower or a warm bath? According to a recent survey from Food Insight, 93% of Americans agree that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet fewer than 44% are eating it every day. So what did you eat for breakfast? What did you eat for breakfast this morning? Was it filling and nutritious? Or was it just something quick and easy? Did you even eat breakfast? Or did you just not have time for it? How about coffee? How much coffee did you drink? Did you get your venti pumpkin spice latte? Or do you just make Folgers coffee like I do? Do you thrive off caffeine? Notice where you are, what your environment looks like, the people you're with. Now go into work. How long is your drive? How far are you driving? What are you working on? Is it physically challenging, mentally challenging, or something else? Is it tedious? Do you like your job? How does your mindset change as you go throughout the day? Notice that. When you go into the evening, when you go and have dinner with your family, notice how your mindset changes throughout the day. Most importantly, do you feel excited about what you're working on? Or is it just another obstacle to push out of the way? Are you taking the time for self-care? Or does the workday just not allow for it? Now, take another deep breath. There's a lot there. And release all that anxiety. As we come back to this place, opening up our eyes and coming to the present day. Think about the community you're in now. The people that are around you. How do they differ from what you experience at work? What you experience during your day-to-day week? You see, gratitude is related to all of these little details. We often come to churches or our sacred places of worship or our communities to get away from everything that's going on throughout the week. And there's nothing bad about that. But the trick to living with gratitude is to not see life as a burden or something to be escaped. Rather, gratitude is a response to a life fully lived. Gratitude does not mean living blind to the grievances of life or the frustrations or the losses, like the fact that the Dallas Cowboys lost to Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday. We're not blind to that. We see that. Gratitude does not mean finding ways to avoid being sad. It is a generative mindset that changes how we go about our day, our perspective on each passing moment. Too many people think that the grass is greener somewhere else, but the grass is greener where you water it. Are you taking the time to water it? This is how we express gratitude, by watering the grass, by offering grace to people in our lives, by being a cheerful giver. I'm sure you know a few of those. By caring for our neighbors. The real power of gratitude is that it's a compelling force that transforms us into stewards of abundance. Thanks leads to giving. Go back to a normal slide. There we go. In the book of Deuteronomy, the great prophet Moses, those of you who are familiar, is teaching the Israelites how to live as a community moving forward into the promised land. And at one point, he says to them, when you're in your field harvesting your crop, and you overlook a sheaf, don't go back and get it, but leave it for the widow, the orphan, and the immigrant, so that the Lord your God will bless the work of your hands. So the lesson is this. Say you're a farmer, and while you're harvesting your crop, you miss a part of your crop. You miss a corner or the edge of it. Instead of returning to fix it, instead of returning to make sure you get it, Moses says, leave it. Or the authors of Deuteronomy, because there's debate there. Anyway, Moses says, leave it. This process is called gleaning. We use the term differently today, but gleaning is an act of collecting leftover crops and or leaving the leftover crops for people to otherwise harvest it. Commercially, farmers use it today for harvesting fields and determining whether or not the field is still profitable to harvest. So sometimes they'll just leave the crop there to wither and die because it fertilizes the ground. But so easy, I think, to hoard our belongings, thinking that someday these things will be of use to me later. Someday, this will be of use to me. And the thing is that most of those things that we're saving, what happens to them? They go to waste, right? We don't use them. So what happens when we're grateful for all the small things in our lives? We express that gratitude through generosity, through giving away those blessings, through leveraging our roles and our lifestyles to create space and opportunities for others. We live counterculturally to the capitalist give me mindset, and we give, and when we give gratefully. And this reminds me of a story. Hey, it's all there. That's amazing. If you give a mouse a cookie, anyone familiar with this story? If you give a mouse a cookie? Yay, a few people. Okay. Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, you missed a really great part of my childhood. These books, that we give our children to read often reveal as much about our own concerns about the concerns of theirs. I think the reason that I like this story so much is because it's all about the mouse wanting a cookie. And I love cookies. I don't know if anyone else loves cookies. I love cookies. So the mouse is smart. I was going to draw a little like devilish horns and a little pitchfork for him because he's an evil little mouse. He knows how to get more than just the cookie. It starts with a cookie, then gets a glass of milk, then he gets some straw. He gets more and more and more. So this story takes the form of an ironic warning about the consequences of altruism. If you give a mouse a cookie, then he'll ask for a glass of milk, and then a straw, and then a napkin, beginning a cycle of requests that don't end even when the book does. At the end of the book, it says, and if you give the mouse a glass of milk, he'll want a cookie. So among numerous sequels, there is if you give a dog a donut, if you give a moose a muffin, if you give a pig a pancake, and for the cat lovers in the room, if you give a cat a cupcake. All told, the series has sold over 45 million copies. What is interesting to note is the political context of the publication. The tension in the book is familiar to anyone who has wondered if withholding help does more to encourage others than to help themselves. Economists call this the Samaritan's dilemma. The relationship between the boy and the mouse could be that of a parent and a child. Or it could be that of the government and those who benefit from the welfare system. But the vast majority of these beneficiaries of our welfare system fill the indefinitely growing portion of our economy for low-paying jobs. And the values and ambitions of these people are just as beautiful as ours as Americans. In other words, if you give a mouse a cookie, most of the time you're just giving the mouse a cookie. That's it. And actually, the comparison does not justly capture the prejudicial legislation that we have passed more recently on the federal and state levels that restricts eligibility for SafeNet benefits and allowing states to impose work restrictions on benefactors of Medicaid, threats to deny citizenship to legal immigrants who enroll in public assistance. Did you hear me? I said legal immigrants. We're restricting their access. This is why I think Americans are so anxious about giving away their money, time, and energy to organizations and people that they do not trust. In short, it's because of the mouse and the cookie. We do not love the stranger because of their strangeness. We can't trust that mouse. Because of the unknowns. Because they are not like us. We think that if we give the mouse a cookie, there will be no telling what they're going to ask for next. You see, it's easy to look upon the dilemma of homelessness as a hopeless cause when we're looking down from an ivory tower. Xenophobia is just as rooted in our psyche. We don't trust our neighbors because we don't know our neighbors. How many of you actually know immigrants? How many of you actually know the people on the streets? Oh, good. Some of you do. That's cool. That's exciting. I think we need to see more hands in the room, though. So I invite you to appreciate the little things. Did I never slide? I did. Hey, I found this cool graphic. Grateful for the small things, the big things, and everything between. Appreciate the little things. Appreciate the growth you've made over the last year, the last 2 years, and the last 5 years. Because the problem is that we don't actually allow ourselves to be grateful. We don't see our lives as moments of growth. We see them as perpetual train wrecks, just getting worse and worse every day. We don't appreciate the time that we've actually grown. I don't think about the fact that, I've made leaps of progress in self-development this year, partly thanks to CSLDallas. Thank you for that. And I've made a difference. Maybe not in the biggest difference in the world, but I still made a difference. Haven't you done the same? I am grateful that this community welcomed and allowed a nut job like me to be an intern here. When I first heard about this community, the first thing I learned about was our theme, painting a new picture. And I want to reiterate and remind ourselves of the commitments we accepted as part of that theme. That as a community, we aim to be radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, and transforming lives. And that is what this place has been for me. You transformed my life. You radically included me. In the few months that I've been here, I've learned to see prayer in a new light as spiritual mind treatments. I've begun practicing yoga. I was really good about it until recently. Now I'm really bad about it, but I started it. I've been mindful of my breathing whenever I'm stressed. I take some time to breathe. And I know that I'm not alone. As an aspiring minister, one of the first things I learned in a conversation with Petra was that I don't have to be everything. So I'm grateful for all these little things. What are you grateful for today? So may we have a vision of the world as love would have it, to give without greed, to build bridges of trust, not walls of fear, to paint murals that bring attention to the lives of the destitute, to teach those around us not to turn a blind eye to injustice, to stand up for the cause of our brothers and sisters in binds and on the streets, because this is how gratitude manifests in our lives. This is how we live. By showing the world that, yeah, there's still good news. By suggesting that despite everything going on in the world, there's still hope. There is still something we can put our faith in. There's still something we can trust. Still something we can be thankful for. We come to recognize that gratitude is an anchor for our lives. And that doesn't mean that we always set it down, because we still have to go somewhere, right? But it's an anchor when we need it. So I ask you again, what are you thankful for today? And how can you express that in the world around you? And that's it for me. So I invite Petra to come up and lead our spiritual mind treatment. Thank you.
Brilliant job. Thank you so much. Yeah. Gratitude has always felt to me like the opening for generosity. When we have gratitude, it is so effortless to share the good that we are grateful for. So let's turn within right now and take a breath. As we turn into that inward place, we turn into the center. That center which is everywhere and that has no circumference. It's the center of all life that is moving in, through, and as all life. That divine presence which is omnipresent, which is the oneness that lives, moves, and has its being through all of creation. And creation is utterly embedded in that one infinite reality. And what we know about that oneness, it is that it is the impulse of life. It is the self-givingness of the divine into creation, that it may express itself, experience itself, and forever expand. And so all of creation is the home and the house and the joy of the one. And so each one of us, all life, all beings everywhere, are sourced from that one infinite reality. The possibility of all good, the potential for all abundance, the flow of love, the possibility of beauty. All of it present right here, right now, in this moment, right where I stand, right where you stand or sit, or wherever life is expressed. So this morning, we simply allow ourselves to realize the grace that is poured in, through, and as us. That we are graced with love and life and this omnipresence. Grateful for each and every moment of love. for every awareness of abundance, for every experience of health and wholeness. And for all the ways in which we see this truth in others. This morning we recognize that this very truth that is true about each one of us is true about every single human being on the planet. And that we are the hands and the heart and the voice of that love made manifest. That our gratitude for that which flows into our lives automatically pours out as generosity, as the gift of love, of abundance, of connection, of recognition, of hope, of faith. And so today and this weekend and this week, as we reflect on gratitude, I simply affirm and declare that it lifts us and generates within us an outpouring that we too are a floodgate open. As the source pours into us, we pour it out into the world. And so as we are blessed, we become a blessing. As we are grateful, there is generosity. As life is moving in, through, and as us, all of life is lifted. And so I declare for that lifting in the lives of those we love, in the strangers that we don't know, in the places where it seems most desperately needed. And yes, I affirm that each and every one of us makes a difference. And so it is here that we stake our spiritual claim. And we expect the universal law to show us the way, to guide, guard, and direct us with all that we do. And we can rest assured that every moment we are adding to the good for all of creation. And so it is with deep gratitude for the infinite presence, for the universal law, and for our place in life that we release these words now. I let them go. I let them be. And so it is.